the next couple of days. So with that, I'll let Vic get us started.
Well, thanks, Ann. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're glad to have you here with us today. I was thinking about this webinar earlier, and in IT and in telephony, there are times where you have to do something in your environment just because things are aging out. A server's 5 years old and needs to be replaced, or an application needs to be updated because it's been a couple of years and needs a little sprucing up. But sometimes things come as a surprise, and we're forced to make a change in our environments, not for anything else other than the product's going away. And that's the situation we find ourselves in today with Nuance. They made an announcement not too long ago, kind of took everybody by surprise, that they were going to discontinue their SpeechAttendant and OpenSpeechAttendant applications. And those were going end of support, end of life, here pretty quickly. That's one thing to note on that is that Nuance is probably the premier developer of speech recognition technology and text-to-speech technology in the world, quite frankly. They are not discontinuing that part of their business. That is going to continue on. They will still be developing speech recognition engines and newer technologies to continue to make speech recognition much more accurate and dependable as time goes on. What they have discontinued, though, are the applications that they wrote to ride on top of their speech recognition engine. Two applications, SpeechAttendant and OpenSpeechAttendant. And as you can see from this timeline, it's coming up really fast. Next year it's going to be the end of the line for those products. Nuance will no longer take your calls on those to provide any type of support or any of the services that they've had going along with them. Nuance looked at the field and has really been recommending us, the OpenText CX-E product, as probably the premier product to be an option for their customers to take a look at. We've been at this for longer than anybody else. For nearly 40 years, another year or two, we're going to be celebrating our 40-year anniversary of the CX-E product. Close to 25 years now in developing speech applications and the technologies surrounding speech applications. We also work on top of the Nuance speech recognition engine. Our application, similar to what Nuance did with their SpeechAttendant, is an application that rides on top of the Nuance engine. Our application also rides, the CX-E applications ride on top of the Nuance engine. So if you're doing speech recognition applications within CX-E, and we have a whole raft of applications, directory auto-attendant being one of them, you'll be using the same Nuance speech recognition engine that you're used to and comfortable with. Our application provides many additional features beyond what you have within the Nuance system today. And for those of you, I know some of you may not have the Nuance system, but you're just interested in speech enabling call completion and directory applications. Everything you hear from here on out will be applicable to you as well. As I mentioned, the CX-E from OpenText, you may have known us previously as Xmedius or as AVST. It's the same product. We have just joined with the OpenText family and are going to market as OpenText CX-E Voice now. Same system, same solution, just the new name. A couple things to note that are highlighted on this screen here. One, we do the directory. We do the automated attendant, the speech-enabled auto-attendant services. But CX-E is a multi-application solution. A great thing about it is the licensing is very a la carte, so you're not purchasing applications that you don't need. Out of the box, it doesn't do everything that you see on this screen. But if you decide that you need to have some other applications running, be they messaging, unified messaging, mobility, IVR, call center functionality, it's just adding licensing to the existing CX-E platform and enabling that on that platform. It's not deploying another platform in your environment. As we all know, when you look at from a total cost of ownership and application integration perspective, having a single platform that does a number of different applications is a whole lot better, easier to manage, easier to maintain than having 4 or 5 different platforms, each one doing its own thing. So as you can see, a lot of other things can be done with our system. Many of these applications significantly enhance the functionality of the speech auto-attendant. And we'll tell you about some of those things as we start working through this presentation today. Some of the ways that we can enhance what you're able to provide to your callers, to your users, by deploying the CX-E as the replacement solution for the Nuance SpeechAttendant. Interoperability, that is really a core competency for us. The CX-E platform works in virtually any environment that's out there. We integrate to virtually any telephony environment. So whatever type of PBX or PBXs that you have within your environment, chances are we're going to be able to integrate with that and provide our applications in your environment. And even if you're an organization that through mergers and acquisitions, whatever, you may have multiple PBXs within your environment, or maybe you're coming to the end of life of one PBX platform that you have, and you're going to, over the next couple of years, you'll be migrating to a different PBX platform. The CX-E system can integrate to multiple PBXs simultaneously. So if you have an Avaya PBX at the headquarters, you acquired a company that had Cisco, and you merged with another organization that used a cloud-based service with BroadSoft as its backbone. The CX-E platform that you deploy can simultaneously integrate to all of those different telephony environments, meaning you can provide a uniform set of features and capabilities regardless of what type of telephone is sitting on the desk of your user community, wherever they happen to be. So let's start talking about the application itself. We have a whole raft of features within the system that can duplicate what you're doing now with your Nuance SpeechAttendant. We can support both speech and DTMF in the same menu. Multiple aliases for people, as you can see there. There's a number of examples. Depending on what name you put in for almost any user, they may be known as other things to people calling in. John Tyler or Dr. John Tyler or Jonathan Tyler. This system allows you to create an unlimited number of aliases. There's no fixed limit to the number of aliases you can create and assign to a particular individual, allowing it to be tailored to their specific unique needs. We can present a full corporate directory, but if you have individual departments or locations that need their own unique call processing menu, you can make their own menu with their own schedule. their own greeting, their own calling options. And when someone says a name in, the Pittsburgh office's auto-attendant, you can set the system up to only look at those users that are in the Pittsburgh office. We're not going to look at the entire corporate directory. We'll look at the segregated portion of that directory that are just the applicable users. If you're calling into the Human Resources Department, if someone is calling into the Human Resources Department, we can look. They say John Smith. We'll only look at the names associated with that particular department. And this makes it is significantly beneficial to the callers calling in. I mean, that's the real key, isn't it? Making it easier for your callers to be able to get to the destination that they want. All of these features, duplicate name disambiguation, multiple aliases, segregated directories, all of these things allow you to make it easier for your callers to get connected to it. Your users can have multiple telephone numbers associated with them, and they can be given control by you as a system administrator to which telephone number is active at any given time. This year, as we've all suffered through COVID and all of the struggles and challenges beyond the health issues, which has been devastating for many, the processing of business, keeping business going. How do you do that when everybody's in the office one day and the next day everybody was working from home? How do you handle that? How do you get calls connected to them? Having the user have the ability to change their number from their PBX extension to their home office or to their cell phone or whatever is the applicable device is tremendously beneficial. And especially now as many businesses are starting to tentatively move people back to the office. If someone's working at home today and in the office tomorrow, it's very easy for them to switch what the destination is. When someone calls in and says, Joe Smith, what telephone device are we going to use in order to reach them? And we have, as I mentioned, we have a number of other applications that can enhance the functionality of the speech attendant. For example, instead of having the user manually change which telephone device is used for today or during the day, the system can be programmed to automatically choose which telephone number is used. The intelligent call routing option you see there in the middle of the screen allows the system to automatically change which telephone devices are used based on where the user is, what they're doing. That's part of enabling one of the additional features beyond the speech directory in the system, but can provide significant value for your users, especially in these days where everybody is an at-home worker or mobile worker today. So let's take a look at some call flows and how some of those options will look and sound and feel. So here's a traditional one. This is probably very similar to what you have on your current Nuance speech attendant system. Greeting says at any time, say the name of the person or the name of the department you wish to reach. Somebody says, John Tyler, and the system says, one moment, please, transfers the call, and the call's on its way. And we can certainly do that. When John Tyler answers his phone, he's speaking with the caller. But if we start expanding the system, and we can have, as we said, we can have multiple menus. So if the caller calls in and says sales department, instead of transferring to the sales department, we can go to a submenu that is focused specifically on the sales department or on human resources or on manufacturing or on admitting, whatever the particular department is. You can have an unlimited number of menus that can be called from anywhere within the call flow. But if you're using us as your messaging solution as well, we can start enabling some additional features. We talked about a few on the previous slide, but here's one that has been extremely popular. As we talked about doing the call processing this way, when John answers the telephone, he is talking to the person that's calling him. He answers the phone and he is connected to that person. Sounds like it's a great thing, but what if you're in the middle of a project and you have got to get this done, and that telephone call is interrupting and is going to take 10 or 15 minutes out of the work time that you have? Using us as not only your speech attendant, but a messaging product, we can screen the call for you. So when somebody says, please say the name of the person you want, caller says John Tyler, the system can ask them to speak their name. Who's calling, please? Mark Reed. Now when we transfer the call, when John answers the telephone, the system, he's not going to be connected to Mark Reed here. He's going to be connected to the CX system, who will announce the person that's calling him. Now, this has a lot of benefits. It allows John to prioritize what's going on. It's not that the call is unimportant, but is the project he's working on a higher priority than the call that's interrupting it. This gives John the ability to make that decision, and it gives him a significant amount of power now to manage his schedule, to manage his daily life. We can do other things, enable some other features like allowing him to communicate back to the caller without being connected to them. There's any number of additional capabilities that can be added by simply adding the appropriate licensing to the system to expand beyond just speech attendant. When the caller, if the caller is not answered, again, if we're being used as the messaging system, we can provide call processing options to the person calling. Maybe do a find me, follow me with the locate feature, leave a message, try someone else. But the real key to this is currently, if you're using the Nuance speech attendant, when the call gets transferred, it's released from the Nuance system. It's ringing the telephone forwards it over to an entirely different system, the voicemail system that you may be using at this time, which means now the entire interface and caller experience changes for the caller. And it can feel a little disjointed to the caller, making that switch in midstream like that. If they come back to CX as being the messaging platform, if you enable that optional capability, we can provide a consistent speech interface to them so it can feel like a very smooth transaction for them. The same voice is speaking, the same prompting is happening, all being very consistent for your callers. Again, thinking of your callers and making their life easier and making your business easier to do business with for them by having that consistency throughout the entire process and throughout their entire experience. Now, we've talked about English, given examples of English, but we do support multilingual system prompting and speech recognition. So maybe you have, you're headquartered in Chicago, but you have an office in Quebec and another office in Mexico City. You can enable your system to simultaneously support English, French, and Spanish, so that each of those other two remote offices can have their auto-attendant greeting, their users recognized in the language that's appropriate for them. And each system can have up to 5 languages active simultaneously. So based on what your needs are, the system can be configured to meet those needs, and again, making it easier for the callers because they'll be interacting with the system in the language that's most appropriate for them, not having to kind of work their way through an English-only menu and English-only prompting. So we'd like to take a quick look at a couple of customers that are already using the CX-E platform and some of the benefits that they have experienced with it. First is Navy Pier, one of the largest attractions in the greater Chicago area. And they've been using CX-E for quite a while. And one of the challenges that they had when they were first evaluating systems are some of the strong hands-free driving laws that Chicago and the state of Illinois were one of the first places to enact very stringent hands-free driving laws. And now those laws are everywhere. You can't hardly even think about your cell phone while you're driving anymore. And having a speech-enabled auto-attendant was a real high priority for them, not only for their callers calling in, and they get thousands of calls a day, but for their users, using us as their messaging system. But primarily they were thinking of their callers, their customers, making it easier for them to get through the system, regardless of whether they were sitting in the park, calling from their cell phone, calling from home, a hotel, or if they're driving down the road talking hands-free. You don't want to force them to have to pick up the phone and dial something in order to get where they're wanting to go. And the significant medical center up in Alaska, serving Native American communities up in Alaska. They have very high call volume up there, and the CX-E and a speech enablement of the CX-E has allowed them to be much more responsive. And again, thinking of their patients, somebody calling a medical center is not wanting to get lost in a system. And having a streamlined attendance system has allowed them to take better care of the people that are calling them, again, getting them connected as quickly as possible, and as efficiently as possible, and as consistently as possible. Their whole experience being streamlined to get where they need to go as soon as they can. So we feel very strongly that OpenText CX-E Voice is a solution that you should consider. We'd love to spend some more time with you, talk about your unique and specific requirements, and see if we might be able to find a solution that's going to be right for you. So, got some time now for some questions, if there are any. So, Anne, anything in the queue?
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Dick. Yeah, for those, there's a couple questions coming in. If you'd like to submit a question, you can find the Q&A box to put that through. First one, Dick, do you see increased demand for this type of solution since people are familiar with Alexa, Siri, et cetera?
Oh, yeah, it certainly is. And not just the speech attendant part of it, like we've been talking about. That is almost becoming a given. I know my wife, whenever she calls in and hits a DTMF-based auto-attendant of a company, she just turns and glares at me for some reason. I don't know why. But the speech enabling it, people are just used to interacting with devices using speech commands. I mean, they've already probably used a speech command in their cell phone to dial you initially, right? So having that speech interface continuing on, but also for the users, as we talked about, there's other modules that can be added that can make your user's life easier. To be able to get to the information they need, handle the calls in a more efficient manner if they're out running around, things like that. So, yeah, we're really happy for Apple and Google and Amazon and all of them that have really pushed the speech technologies, because it's really a much better way to do these types of applications than having people sit around push buttons all day.
Next, how do you handle difficult to pronounce names?
Boy, that's a great question. There's a number of features that we have in the system to do that. First, of course, being multilingual. If you're trying to say a French name into an English speech recognition engine, your chances of having it recognized properly go down considerably. So having a French speech recognition engine active significantly enhances the ability of that to be recognized. The aliases, unlimited aliases, some of those can be used, like we saw the example of previously, for somebody that may have nicknames or titles in front of their name, John Tyler, Jonathan Tyler, Dr. Jonathan Tyler, all that type of thing. But it can also be used for phonetic spelling of names. So I once worked with a man named Ron Kearns, and his last name was spelled K-R-N-C. How would you pronounce K-R-N-C if you just saw that name and had to speak it? Phonetically spelling the name in the various ways that people might pronounce it and making those aliases significantly enhances the ability of the system to get a successful match and the ability to segregate the directories down. If we have to look at a big directory of 2,000 names, the chances of getting a duplication, matching it with the improper name might go up. But if you can narrow that search field down to just the Human Resources Department or just the Austin, Texas office, the chances of success go up considerably with that system. So there's a whole number of features and capabilities in the system to address that, and we usually have a pretty good success in using 2 or 3 of those within a customer environment to be able to address that situation if you run into it.
Okay. Next, is there Active Directory integration?
Yeah, that's one of the challenges that a lot of these types of systems have is how do you keep the directory updated? And yes, we do. We have a synchronization routine that can run on a scheduled basis. It could be daily, weekly, whatever is applicable for your environment that can query Active Directory and find any new users, any users that have been purged from Active Directory, maybe they've left the company, and then any changes, name changes, the telephone number changes, things like that. We can set up an automatic synchronization into Active Directory to handle those types of things.
Okay, great. I'm just doing a scroll. It looks like we got most of them. There's a couple questions I think I'll have someone follow up with offline. They're very specific. So just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us. Thanks again, Dick, for presenting. And as I mentioned at the beginning, look for a follow-up email from us in the next day or two, which will include a link to this recording as well as a link to the slides and also a link to an email. In case you have follow-on questions, you can certainly reply to that and we'll get you to one of our internal sales contacts here if you have further questions. So go ahead and wrap it up. Again, thanks for joining and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.